Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Morning Trading. I'm delighted to be back with you. We're going to take a closer look at the latest economic news and especially focus on the most recent developments in the stock market, since that's what really interests us here. So, my name is, and as part of our ongoing efforts, we're trying to modernize things a bit and bring you more up to date information. My name is Benoist Rousseau, and I'll be guiding you through these updates today. I've been trading for over 30 years. I'm a member of the CME and the CBOT in Chicago, the two main American exchanges, and most importantly, I love scalping. So let's go. We'll quickly do a psychological analysis of the markets. We are, as you can see very quickly, on the American markets. I'll take the Nasdaq, which is quite characteristic. We've been in a range for 2 months. Here you have the 2-month chart, the 15-day chart, which gives some quite interesting perspectives. We've been ranging for 2 months. We're being shaken up a bit by the untimely statements from Donald Trump. We're being shaken by them, but the market is holding steady despite the attempted invasion of Alaska or whatever else. Financial markets have downward phases. Here we are on the, let's say, Alaska week. And then finally, everything is fine. Donald Trump won, and so on and so forth. And we start to bounce back as if nothing had happened. But here, what is fundamentally most interesting is that we're roughly in the middle of a 2-month range. Why? Because the American economy is stagnating. We have everything that is the Nasdaq driven by AI, which is dynamic. But look, we've been stagnating for 2 months in a market that's ultra dynamic, the AI revolution and so on. Why? Because we have costs that are extremely high in AI, and for the moment, it's not profitable. ChatGPT, for example, is losing money, and it's not losing €2. It's losing billions of dollars just in operations. Servers are extremely expensive, and generating fake cat videos costs a real fortune. So we have a model that is extraordinary but hasn't yet found its profitability. That's why we're starting to see more and more paid advertising appearing in artificial intelligence models. I'll make a video for you on ChatGPT, which I know well. But in order not to sink next year, they have to borrow. They have to find future shareholders capable of writing checks for $500 to $700 billion. $2 billion a day to be able to hold out through 2026 and 2027, simply to be able to develop. So that's why, yes, it's extraordinary. But the financial model, at some point, it's not a soup kitchen, It's not a model where they don't have to make money. They have to make money. So what we might see with AI is a moment where a big player gives up and leaves the room to its competitors. It's just the classic economic system, when you have the introduction of a new technology. That was my specialty at university. At the Sorbonne, I was one of François Caron's students who specialized in disruptions, technological disruptions. So any new technology that enters, you have the phase. And here we're still in phase 1, the expansion phase. It's extraordinary. And then after a while, you have phase 2, the consolidation phase. And you see the big ones starting to give in, let go, or sink. In Europe, for example, in a country like France, at the dawn of the automobile, we had 90 car manufacturers. And very quickly, in some 20 or 30 years, we went from 90 to 7 or 8 car manufacturers. And now, well, we're down to 2 car manufacturers. But are they still French? That's another problem with globalization. Because the cars, for example, Renault, that you buy if you're French and live in France, they're generally produced either in Romania or a lot in Brazil. Renault is a major importer of cars into France. On the other hand, if you buy Toyotas, a Japanese brand, they're produced in France. So there you go, a difficult debate. Let's move on now, if you like, to technical analysis. But what I want to show you is that right now we're in a sort of waiting period. A range is never easy to trade. Fortunately, it's a range with a 1,000-point amplitude. We have a low point around 25,000, the annual low. If we go back there, it'll be a few small trades that are quote-unquote easy to take. And then we have a high point, 26,000, 26,100, 26,050. Very, very difficult to break through. We're navigating between the two. So when Trump is relatively aggressive with, I was going to say Greenland, Canada, China, we're more in the lower range. And when he's less aggressive and more positive, talking about tax cuts for businesses and so on, we're more in the upper range. But there it is, 2 months of stagnation. We're stagnating, and that's not a good sign, in my opinion, for this year, 2026. So for intraday, what's interesting is that we went above the daily pivot point, above 25,000, 25,500. And at midnight, right, when the American futures opened, we immediately started bouncing off of it. So that gives us an indication. There are a lot of buyers below the monthly pivot point, below the 25,500 level. Double. Security, so to speak. So if we came back to 25,500, I do a little scalp, maybe a little day trading, if the scalp starts to go well. The problem for it, and we can see it here, was Friday, January 21st. The difficulty in passing the monthly middle R1, which is at 25,000, 25,800. So it's a level, clearly it's a level that's a bit awkward. The 25,800, we have the 750 protecting us with a bounce capacity. And then, well, we have to go for 800. When we're at 800, then 926,000, where we failed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times or so over the last 2 months. So there you go, right down. And it's a level that's not easy. I'd like to see a pullback so we can hit 25,500. That would be an easy trade. If we came back to 25,750 and stabilized, it could be a waiting zone before going for 28,000. And then we're subject to a tweet from Donald Trump. This weekend, he was pretty quiet. He rested. He got over the jet lag from Davos, in my opinion. Speaking of the Nasdaq, let's go straight to the S&P 500. Exactly the same setup. Look at that algorithmic precision. We hit the monthly pivot point at the open last night on the S&P 500. Bounce. And now we're starting to get stuck. We're slowed down by the monthly middle R1. We're in exactly the same setup. More interesting, the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones. Here we're looking at 2 months. As you can see, we're in a bullish phase. Why? Because as AI started to stagnate, a lot of people thought, well, if I want to make plus 10, plus 15, or plus 20% in AI, we're at the peaks. It's stagnating. Maybe it's not the right time. They went back to quote-unquote traditional stocks that are in the Dow Jones, and all through December, we had a nice push in the Dow Jones, and now we're starting to stagnate here too, waiting for the monthly middle R1. As you can see, we didn't hit it, but we came within a few points of it. If we go back to it, there's a good chance for a bounce, and then very, very difficult to break through for now. The monthly middle R2. We thought so for about an hour on Friday, and then by the end of the session, we dropped back below. So a slightly tighter, slightly narrower range on the Dow Jones. Moving on, now careful, if you're feeling down, you might want to stop watching. Let's look at Europe, starting with the least painful one, the DAX 40. Now, there was a very strong upward wave throughout the month of December, and here we're clearly in a range, a downward range at the previous month's high. We bounced off it, which is a good sign, but we just can't seem to take off again. As you can see, it stagnated all day Thursday and Friday. For 48 hours, it just flatlined, and now we're in a range where they just don't know. In practical terms, they have no idea what to do. As long as we stay above the previous month high, we have a slight positive bias, just a bit. But what's interesting is if you take the low and high of the Thursday-Friday range. That's where you find your intervention levels. If we break the top of the range, it's worth putting in a small bet. If we break the bottom, it's better to do nothing and wait for the previous month's high. I'm thinking more of the monthly middle R1, around 24,760 or 75. That is an excellent level for intervention. They might not break through it all at once, in one clean move. If we head south, if we go bearish, then we have a zone where a pretty interesting battle could take place. Now, heads up for anyone feeling low. This is the tough part of the broadcast. The CAC 40 is collapsing. It's just crashing. There's no other way to put it. Since the start of the year, it's down. It hit a high of 8,400. It bounced around 8,000 on Friday, losing 5%. That 8,000 mark is such a symbolic level that there was a real struggle just to stay there. So here you can see the difference. The DAX 40 bounces off the previous month's high, while the CAC 40 bounces off the previous month's low. I think that says it all, really. There's not much more to add, and of course, we weren't helped. We weren't helped in France by Donald Trump, who threatened a 200% tariff on French alcohol, French champagne. Maybe it's time to stock up. Who knows? You could resell it on the black market in New York. Maybe Bollinger. Apparently, they really like that brand. So, there you go. Plus, there's no fundamental momentum. Trouble passing a budget, trouble making decisions. We're waiting, holding our breath, and focusing on things that are truly important for the economy. Whether we'll retire 3 months earlier or 3 months later. And it's true that in a world where AI is revolutionizing everything, these are fundamental questions. You can still feel that France is truly at the forefront of the revolution, probably. So, a little boost for morale. Come on, you have some money. That's great. It's time to check Grandma's drawer for a little coin. More a small gold bar lying around for the more well-to-do. Gold is exploding due north. Historical record after historical record, over $5,000 an ounce. There, if we started taking off right at the start in the year, we found support in the 4,300 zone, and now we're at 5,000, so we've already gained almost 15%. Wonderful, and we have a truly exponential rise. Now watch out for there'll inevitably be a small dip, but it's been fueled every time by Donald Trump. Uncertainty means we buy gold, which in times of war, quite honestly, isn't worth much. Since you can't eat your gold, it's better to have land you can farm and a good rifle to stop your neighbors from stealing your vegetables. Of course, since we have a truly due north, almost exponential rise in gold, we have our second safe haven. At least that's what we were sold, Bitcoin. And we're just going to see if Bitcoin really is a safe haven. Well, not at all. For 2 months now, Bitcoin's been hovering around $88,000, its lowest in 2 weeks. It's taking hit after hit, so be careful if you hold Bitcoin. We just hit the annual low during the night. A small attempt at a rebound, but look at the last 2 weeks. It's not appealing at all. It's the exact opposite of gold. Gold due north, Bitcoin due south. Is Bitcoin a safe haven? No. Was it ever? Maybe for a week, but it doesn't have that power that gold can have. There, listen, that's about all I wanted to tell you for today. Oh yes, you see this? It's a little software I made that lets you change the counter right here. Hop and now I'll put I love the economy. What I'd like is to get back to the wide angle. There, see, I love the economy. Well, I love Big Cow though. Of course, there you can write absolutely anything, and I find it very amusing. Well, friends, I'm leaving you. I'm switching to the premium version for the people in my school. I'll see you tomorrow around 8 o'clock, between 8 and 8:05. That depends on YouTube more than it does on me. Take care, and I hope you have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Please be careful on the markets, as always, and just know that we're likely to be shaken up probably by Donald Trump this week, or possibly next week. It's what we call in the industry manic phases, where things can get a bit unpredictable. So, once again, take care and stay alert out there. Meaning that at some point he's hyper active. You know, Donald Trump. He wants to invade Greenland. He doesn't invade Greenland at Davos. He gets back on his plane, he sends a war fleet to Iran. There you go. He has very busy weeks, compared to you. Me? What did I do this week? Last week I didn't invade Greenland. Ugh. No, I didn't even go to a restaurant. I was sick well, yes, I did go outside, and since there's snow, I almost fell. There you go. We don't have the same life at all. But learn to spot that. You have phases when Donald Trump is suddenly hyper active. For a week, we don't hear about him at all. He's simply in a manic decompression phase, if I may say so. And he's resting. And then, well, all the media worldwide start with headlines. Is Donald Trump dead? Is he sick? What's wrong? because he's still the guy who generates the most audience and brings in the most money. To the news media, something is always happening with Donald Trump. So, on that note, big hugs, and in 2 minutes, I'm switching over to my school's live stream. Bye, everyone, and see you tomorrow. Take care. Kisses.